Hello everyone, welcome to Crypto Basics Coach podcast. I'm Marco. I'm here to help people navigate this topic so as to benefit from the opportunity this new technology provides and not get distracted or put off from the nonsense there is out there about crypto. Anything and everything presented and discussed, whether here or in our sessions, is of an educational nature and should never be taken as financial advice. Always do your due diligence and consult professionals before making any final decisions. Hi everyone, hope you're well and hope you had a great week. Today's topic is going to be around the network of professionals that you need to consider about setting up, and ideally setting them up before your wealth comes in the door, because you're going to need them. And you can also obviously learn about what you need, who you need. This could be through referrals, through YouTube channels. There's many different ways. Something else I cover in the sessions that I have with people who are at this stage. So let's have a look at the first one, the accountant. Now, most people have an accountant. Clearly, the first thing we need to differentiate here is this isn't about an accountant that just does your tax return. Okay, this is an accountant that is far more skilled, has structure experience, meaning that they understand what type of structures they can possibly set up for you. And ideally, you would want them to be crypto aware. Okay, so not just someone who does your tax returns. And remember what I said in previous podcasts, where sometimes you may get a different answer from an accountant than you do from a lawyer, because they focus on different things. Accountants will typically focus on tax minimization, as they ought to. Lawyers typically focus on protection of assets and wealth. So find an accountant that has those criterias, because no doubt you're going to need one. The next one, financial advisor. Okay, a lot of people use financial advisors. Some products aren't even allowed to be talked about in certain conversations unless people are appropriately licensed, okay, in certain countries. So financial advisor, but what I would make you aware of here is, always remember, as I've covered before, these people can only talk about specific products that they are licensed to talk about. So just because you talk to them, don't assume that you're getting the best advice. Don't assume that you're getting the full picture, because they can only talk to you about certain things. So ideally, you would like them to be at least crypto aware. And as we're starting to see around the world, the traditional products like ETFs and so forth are starting to come thick and fast. And you'd want to be talking to a financial advisor that understands these. Okay, so keep that in mind. Next one, here in Australia, I've mentioned it before, we call them self-managed super funds. These are essentially retirement funds. Well, here in Australia, if you set up a self-managed super fund, you need to then have an appropriate company that will perform all the regulatory requirements, making sure that you're compliant and so forth. Okay, and what I've found here is, again, crypto naivety. And so you want to be speaking to people and have people engaged that are understanding, their understanding of crypto is pretty high. At the very least, they should be able to give you guidance as to, can you invest in crypto, can you invest in DeFi, and get the appropriate answers. And you may be surprised at what self-managed super funds can do. Okay, so take full advantage of them. The reason you've got them is so you have a bit more say as to what you can invest in, but make sure it's easier to work with someone who obviously understands crypto and can then provide the appropriate guidance. Now, something that's related to these regulatory companies is also the auditor, because once they do your books, they will then send this off to an auditor, okay, who's obviously fully aware of what the self-managed super regulatory landscape looks like. They then are able to perform the appropriate audit, and with these, you may have to educate one. Thankfully, there are some auditors out there that are crypto aware. So when you're having conversations with them about cold wallets and providing addresses and how will you meet the regulatory requirement around an audit, that you'll be able to satisfy their need. If they're completely oblivious to crypto, you may have a very tough conversation, because they won't understand, well, how your stuff is on these cold what? It's not in a platform. Oh, I don't know how to audit that platform. These cold wallets are all confusing to me. So trust me when I tell you that you need to make sure that your auditor is crypto aware. Or you might just end up having to educate them and make them aware. But the software is out there for these people to use it. If they don't know how to use it, then that's something that, that's their issue. They need to go and grow and learn and keep up with what's going on in the markets. That's not your problem. But it is your problem if they can't sign off. Okay, so you may have to work with them a little closer than you might have expected. The other person that you want to have, or the other entity that you want to have, is a lawyer firm, someone who understands structures. Okay, and also if you get a good one, they potentially will also have other financial products around lending, around mezzanine finance and so forth that you might also take advantage of. But the primary reason that you're looking to have an appropriate lawyer firm on your contact list is to understand structures, and then that way they can advise you on what structures they recommend. The accountant can recommend what their structures that they believe you should have, and then you potentially have to make a decision as to which one. Okay, but with more wealth, and the old saying is control everything, own nothing. Okay, if you don't understand that statement, then you've got some learning to do. Okay, because these lawyers will be able to set you up in the appropriate structures that will protect your family wealth, and it's all part of being a good steward of your family's finances. Then the other area that I'd recommend that you have contacts at the almost on your speed dial is banking contacts. So a very obvious one potentially is your branch manager. Okay, do you have their name and their contact details in case you need to inform them? And it could just be something as simple as informing them that, your investments have done really well and you're going to be transferring an amount of money that you don't normally transfer. Okay, and you want to give them a heads up. Or you run into some situation with the bank. Again, having the bank manager's details may be very handy for you. Also, their fraud department. I've had a couple of conversations, again, because they've seen transactions that they believe to be fraudulent or going to destinations that might be suspicious, or, it could be a crypto exchange, for example. So having their number handy can also be of benefit, and it can also shortcut things where perhaps your account gets locked up and you can have a direct conversation with them. And they can put notes on your account that means the next time that you do a transfer, it won't be blocked, it won't raise red flags. And the other one is, as you start to earn more money and you have more wealth, there'll be a financial advisor for the bank, and they focus on what the bank can do for you. So they're focusing on banking products. And usually you have to be, reasonably wealthy. In some instances, you'll need to meet the sophisticated investor criteria, but it'd be good to have someone from the bank. If you're wanting to constantly interact with them, they may very well have some products that you're interested in that you can put your newfound wealth into working for you. Now, all of those that I've covered are predominantly onshore, meaning in the jurisdiction that you live. Okay, and as you know, I'm a big proponent of diversification. So all of those functions, you want to duplicate those offshore. Now, this isn't as easy because clearly you need to know which locations offshore are you potentially interested in. Otherwise, you may go to the trouble of getting all these contacts in a jurisdiction that you're never going to get there. So what you want to do is at least understand that you're going to need these contacts once you have settled on a location. And there are companies out there which provide these services as a full-blown service. They're able to sit down, look at your requirements, and then they've got all of the contacts I've mentioned above for various locations, and they'll take you through the process of understanding which jurisdictions should you be looking at, which ones, and describe to you the pros and cons. So get onto YouTube again, or go through personal contacts and start finding these companies. Some accountants, some lawyer firms do have offshore connections, and they're able to introduce you to these sorts of companies. But just imagine that you're going to be duplicating everything that you've got here in another jurisdiction, at least one, maybe two or three. So you're going to need to know, well, who are you going to go and talk to? Okay, once you've got the ability to look after this stuff. And rest assured, the offshore structures do cost, and the services of these companies do cost. So you do need to justify why you would be using them, but I'm just raising awareness as to what you may need. And just make sure these companies have actual experience in setting up structures in those jurisdictions, and it's just not all theoretical, and they're just charging you a large fee for doing nothing other than educating you. Going to specific legal firms, specific accountants can be hit and miss, so I'd recommend that you try and do it in a more holistic fashion. Okay, so there's some thoughts around the network of professionals that no doubt you're going to need over the next few years, if potentially you might even need them now, depending on your situation and what your wealth looks like and what your goals and ambitions are in order to grow and protect your family wealth. So let's get into homework. Last week, it was go and have a look at how many levels of gold are there. And do they have the same price? And again, I'm sure that may have surprised you as it did me. I wasn't aware there was multiple levels and that the prices attract differently because of their intrinsic characteristics. Okay, so hopefully you've done some homework there. This week, what I want you to do is go and have a look at what does SEX and DEX stand for? And that's CEX and DEX in the land of crypto. Okay, what's a SEX and a DEX stand for, and how do they differ? Okay, what are the pros and cons between each of them, and also things that you want to be careful of. Hope you found this useful. Again, have a fantastic week. Look forward to speaking to you in 7 days. Been enjoying my conversations with you in our sessions. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to get done, and no doubt over the next couple of months, couple of years, there's even more to do. You guys take it easy. Cheers. If you found this information helpful and are interested in a more hand-holding approach while navigating this complex industry, please visit cryptobasicscoach.com, that's basics with an S, and book a session. The first 30-minute session is free, and we can get to know each other, talk about what your aims are, what you're looking to do, and how I might be able to possibly help. I've helped people get started, set up exchange accounts, wallets, DeFi platforms, and general knowledge. Look forward to speaking with you. Cheers.